Week 12 running back rankings, breaking down the top 36 guys, putting them into tiers, talking about their matchups, the trends, everything you need to know for week 12, how to make the best possible lineup. So, with that being said, let's not waste any more time and let's talk about the two guys who are alone in a tier by themselves, probably about a tier above everybody else in between this, and that's going to be Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey. These legendary running backs, nobody's close to. Really not much to see here. They seem to ping pong each week on who's going to score, 40 points or who's going to have the RB1 on the week. JT scores 50. He goes on by. Christian McCaffrey scores almost 40 points. There's really not much to discuss here. These guys are getting everything. Two of the best running backs in the NFL. So, yeah, with that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's go to the next tier. The two guys just below them with Devon Achane on by. There's just two of them this week, and that's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. And the same goes for these guys. These are studs, just a tier below CMC and JT, but there's, nothing to knock on there. The only thing I want to talk about is the Bijan situation worries me just a little bit. And the reason I say that is because Michael Penix Jr. is out for the season, partially torn ACL, going to miss like 9 months. Not good. Kirk Cousins has not looked good at all in an Atlanta Falcons uniform, just has looked dreadful. Drake London is also missing this week, so maybe that could lean them, maybe that could mean that they lean more on Bijan, but they're probably going to be stacking the box this week against Bijan Robinson. And yeah, I mean, that's the only thing you really have to worry about. Kirk Cousins does not look great, but he's Bijan Robinson. He's really good. One of the best running backs in the NFL. There's a reason why he's in this tier. So yeah, really not much to talk about. Jahmyr Gibbs, he had over 100 yards last week receiving. He's really good. So yeah, let's not waste any time on this one, and let's move on to the mid-range RB1s. Kyren Williams, Derrick Henry, and James Cook. Derrick Henry is up a tier this week because he performed really well versus one of the toughest matchups in all of football, the Cleveland Browns defense. I know that's hard to believe, considering how bad the Browns are, but he had a really, really good week versus a tough Browns defense and a matchup where Lamar did not look good, but he was probably the best player in that game. Something just tells me that a massive Derrick Henry run is coming soon where we see him, break off 3 touchdowns. He has almost 200 yards. It could happen this week versus the Jets defense that just traded away everybody. No Sauce Gardner, no Quinnen Williams. Travion Henderson went for 3 touchdowns versus them last Thursday night. You got to feel good about Derrick Henry moving forward. He gets stronger and stronger as the season goes. So yeah, I love Derrick Henry this week in his matchup. Kyren Williams is super reliable as well. He may be a little more touchdown reliant, but the Rams offense is usually going to provide him opportunities to score. I mean, they're, top 3 offense in the NFL, one of the best teams in the NFL, maybe the best team in the NFL. The Bucs also give up 25 points per game to running backs. You love that matchup. So yeah, I love this tier of guys. And moving on to the next tier is going to be a tier of 2 guys, and that's going to be Saquon Barkley and Rico Dowdle. I'm feeling good about them. Just a small tier before running out the top 12. Saquon has been a little underwhelming this year. And I know putting him up here may be a little bit of a stretch for some people, but the volume is there. This offense has to come around. I don't know what the offensive coordinator is doing. I don't know how this team can look like this after how they looked last year, going all the way to the Super Bowl, dominating the entire regular season. Too much talent on this team. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon got to get going here soon, and I have a feeling it's going to be here in the next couple weeks, if not this week, that they get, they explode for another big game. Rico Dowdle, probably the biggest surprise on the season, had his best week where he didn't score a touchdown last week. And his highest route participation with 60%. Production followed. He had 5 catches for 55 yards. You want to see him being involved in the receiving game. With how crazy Bryce Young went last week, you wanted to see him be involved, and especially since he didn't score a touchdown, and you saw it. Rico Dowdle's a really, really good player. He's a Panthers running back 1, and he's going to be continued to be ranked in this range just based on how he's played this season. So yeah, let's move on to the back-end RB1s. Rounding out the top 12 is going to be Chase Brown, Javonte Williams, and Ashton Jeanty. Back-end RB1s. You're still feeling good. Not a lot to worry about. I know a lot of people probably want to drop Jeanty just based on how bad the Raiders looked last Monday night, but he's getting everything. It's for a bad team, I get it, but rookie running backs tend to perform at their best down the stretch of the season, and I would not be surprised if the 6th overall pick and Ashton Jeanty goes absolutely nuclear despite being on the Raiders. We saw it with Brock Bowers last year. They were a bad team, and Brock Bowers went nuclear down the stretch. So good chance that Ashton Jeanty does it. He's going to be ranked in this range until proven otherwise. Chase Brown, pretty much a mini Christian McCaffrey, 83% of the snaps, 83% of the routes. He has had over 22 targets in the past 2 games. That's like wide receiver target numbers. Ridiculous. No Jamar Chase this week. So they'll probably lean on him and T. Higgins more. No Samaje Perine either. So no guy coming in and taking those empty calorie snaps. He's going to get all of them. 2-minute drill, hurry up offense, everything. Javonte Williams. He's still going to be ranked here. He's a little bit, like I said, he's kind of like Kyron Williams, like a little bit lesser of a Kyron Williams, where he's a little bit more touchdown reliant. He's been a little more touchdown or bust recently. He's had no more than 12 points in a game where he's not scored a touchdown. He has only 4 catches over the last 4. He's a good pass catcher. I don't know why the Cowboys haven't been getting him involved more. Maybe it's just a fluke, though. The Cowboys' offense is still elite, in my opinion. I'm not really worried. They're going to be playing him a lot from behind, and Javonte Williams is going to have a lot of opportunities to score. My high-end RB2s, just outside the top 12, I'm going to have 4 guys: Bucky Irving, Travion Henderson, Breece Hall, and Quinshon Judkins. Bucky, I think, is finally going to be back this week. You never know with our coach Todd Bowles. He somehow, for some reason, cannot tell the truth to the media or anybody else outside of his locker room, which I guess is fine, but it just is killing us out here, waiting around for Bucky Irving all year. I do think his role is going to be great, as usual. I have him ranked a little bit lower just due to the uncertainty, and maybe they ease him into the workload. He has a lower workload in his first game back. They're not going to want to, re-risk an injury. He's a smaller running back, so I don't expect him to have his full workload his first game back. Probably going to be ranked higher in weeks coming up, but he's going to be here until then. Travion Henderson, is he too high? Somebody tell me. I don't think he is. I refuse to believe that Vrabel's going to go away from him and go back to Ramondre Stevenson just based on how good Henderson's been the past 3 games. The Bengals matchup is also great. It's an environment where it could go either way. I mean, I think that he could have a workload he's had the past couple of weeks and go absolutely nuclear again, or he can be in a bit of a timeshare with Ramondre, getting involved more and still have a good game. So I feel good about him. They're giving up 34 points per game to running backs, and they're last in the NFL. They're terrible. The Bengals defense is awful. So expect Travion Henderson to go maybe not as nuclear as he has been, but we can always hope. But with Ramondre back, expect him to still have a good game. He's going to be involved more. You hope. Breece Hall and Quinshon are actually quite similar to me. They're both on bad teams, but they're too talented to go any lower, and they're getting all the work on their offense. I do think, though, Tyrod Taylor being named the starter this week with Justin Fields being benched, I think it actually helps Breece. Tyrod's going to check the ball down more. He's not going to take off and run as much. Yeah, I like Breece Hall in this matchup too. They're going to be playing from behind against the Ravens. I mean, you don't love it, but you just hope he gets more checkdowns, more receiving opportunity. Quinshon Judkins, there's going to be a better game script this week. They play the Raiders, a bad Raiders defense. Game script should allow the Browns to run the ball more. Shadir Sanders is making his first start, so maybe he's better than Dylan Gabriel, you hope. You just wish that Quinshon ran more routes. He's only running like 30% of the routes or less. It's just not a recipe for a guy who's going to be, in that RB1 range if he's not getting receiving usage out of the backfield, and he plays for a bad Browns team. So moving on to the mid-range RB2s, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren / Kenneth Gainwell, I'll explain in a second, and Aaron Jones. Jalen Warren is here if he plays. Gainwell is here if Jalen Warren misses. It's not the best offense, but the volume, the role, it's great. They're getting everything in the offense. Gainwell has been a monster, receiving out of the backfield when Jalen Warren was out, and even when Jalen Warren has been playing. So if Gainwell has to step in as a starter, he's going to be ranked right here. You have to feel good about him. Aaron Jones continues his lead back status over the past 2 weeks. Jordan Mason is just a handcuff now. He's an easy plug-in RB2. He's running all the routes. He's commanding a high volume out of the backfield, doing what Aaron Jones normally does, super efficient and reliable as an RB2. DeAndre Swift is a safe play in my opinion. Kyle Monangai has looked good. He got a good bit of carries last week, but wasn't super efficient with it. I believe he found the end zone as well. But this is Swift's role. 58%, 60% of the snaps the past 2 games. I'm not worried about DeAndre Swift losing his role to Kyle Monangai. So yeah, moving on to the next tier, and it's going to be the back-end RB2s, or at least the 3 back-end RB2s before the guys that are rounding out the top 24. And it's going to be Alvin Kamara, Woody Marks, and Travis Etienne. I'm starting to feel the tier breaks a little bit more and more now. Kamara looked great for the Week 11 bye. We can only hope. He's a good player. He's been a great player over the course of his career, but it's the Saints. Tyler Shuck, we probably isn't a great quarterback, but you can hope he can keep it up under Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is a good coordinator. He's a good head coach. He's calling plays. I just hope they keep him heavily involved like they did in Week 10. You feel fine about him. You're not too worried about Kamara's role, especially considering how it looked before the bye. Woody Marks is the guy in Houston. Um, that can mean something different depending on the week. Tough matchup versus the Bills. I would try to avoid it if possible, but he's still a fine back end RB2 play if you have to. The Texans will be playing from behind. And yeah, Woody Marks, he's usually probably going to be a high end RB3 week to week, but with Davis Mills playing, he's been checking the ball a little bit down more to Woody Marks. So it's a fine play. Travis Etienne is the one I am most worried about though. Bashal Tuden ate into his role significantly last week, and I worry about it becoming a 50-50 split here very soon. Until then, I think he stays in this tier. I think he's a fine play this week. I wouldn't be too worried about it. I still think Etienne, he still had 2 touchdowns last week. So he's still going to be involved in a Jags offense that is average, and Etienne has shown to be a pretty good player. He's been fine this year. Now the rest of the top 24, rounding it out, just going to be 2 players, Kenneth Walker and David Montgomery. Probably the most inconsistent RB2s you will get. Monty is game script reliant, game flow reliant. He's the number 2 on the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs has taken a step forward and been really good this year. Kenneth Walker's in a timeshare. Lions, their likely scenario is Monty actually might get a lot more chances to find the end zone this week versus a Giants team that is bottom 3 versus running backs. They give up 26 points per game to running backs. They're not a good defense, so they could give Monty a couple goal line carries and he could find the end zone twice. He could find the end zone once. He could be super efficient on the ground. He's a fine back-end RB2 play. Kenneth Walker looked great last week. Looked the best he's looked all season. Got the goal line carry. But how much can we truly trust him? And that's why he's right here. It's a wait and see at this point. You just hope it tips more towards either one of them. I mean, if we have to put Zach Charbonnet up here and he just gets the majority of the work, fine. But just pick one. I wish that they would. Kenneth Walker's a better player in my opinion, but I'm not the Seahawks coach and they don't really care what I think, nor does anybody else in terms of NFL coaches and what they do. So moving on to the high-end RB3s this week, we're going to have Tyrone Tracy, Zach Charbonnet, and Ty J. Spears. Yeah, it got scary pretty quick. Committee backs, they're either in good offenses like Charbonnet, or they have a pretty safe receiving role in the case of Tyrone Tracy and Ty J. Spears. Tracy looked awesome last week in Week 11. He had 140 total yards, 4 for 51, 4 catches for 51 yards through the air. He's just in his 50-50 split, though, with Devin Singletary. The only caveat here is Jackson Dart is back. You love it. He's going to elevate this offense even more, give him more opportunities to find the end zone, so you hope that Tyrone Tracy is a beneficiary of that. The Titans are just bad. Spears is here I think he's talented. He runs more of the routes on a week-to-week basis. They're going to be playing from behind most weeks anyways. I think he's good to get you around 7 to 10 points. He's a fine floor play. He could have a higher ceiling if he finds the end zone, but I think he's only found the end zone like one time this year. So, Titans players aren't the best bet to be in, walking the end zone at any point. Zach Charbonnet, like I talked about, he's in a committee. He's a pure end zone bet. He doesn't get much in the receiving game, but he's in a 50-50 split on the Seattle Seahawks, who have a really good offense. So, yeah, moving on to the mid-range RB3s. Sean Tucker, Isaiah Pacheco, and Tony Pollard. Another Titans running back. We'll talk about him at the end, but yeah, there's 2 boring options here. And one exciting one, boring ones being Pacheco and Pollard, and the exciting one being Sean Tucker. Isaiah Pacheco should be back from injury this week. It's hard to see him returning to his old form, though. He has not at any point at the end of last year, and he has not shown any spark this year. So hard to trust him, but he's probably going to be the Kansas City lead back, getting majority of the snaps and touches. Tony Pollard has not been good this year. He was outsnapped and outtouched by Spears the last couple of weeks. Maybe he shouldn't even be in this year. I don't know, but he's been involved. He just hasn't been very efficient because the Titans are bad. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about Tony Pollard. It's hard to rely on him. The most exciting option here is Sean Tucker. He's here because I don't think that the Bucs will give Bucky Irving his normal workload. We've seen his usage increased the past couple of weeks. We saw him go absolutely crazy last week And just based on how he played, I doubt that they're going to go away from him too much, and I doubt that they're going to rush Bucky into his normal workload. So Tucker is easily in RB2 territory, though. If Bucky Irving were to miss, he's gonna go up there to like the mid RB2 range. But if Bucky plays, he's gonna be right here. You know, he could find the end zone a couple of times if the Bucks just decide that they're not going to use Bucky very much in his first week back. Moving on to the next tier, high end handcuffs and Ramondre Stevenson is what I have this tier labeled as, and his Bashal Tutin, Kyle Monangai, and Ramondre Stevenson. Some interesting names like Bashal Tutin and Kyle Monangai, but until we see something shift dramatically, I am putting them as pure RB3s who have opportunity to find the end zone weekly. Tuden was actually out snapping and out touching ETN before halftime and when he left with injury. So that's something to monitor. And I think it could be worse. If you have Bashal Tuten, he's found the end zone a couple times, even when he wasn't in that much of a timeshare with ETN. So yeah, if you have to play Tuten or Manungai, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, it's getting scary right here. Ramondre Stevenson is back. I really hope that he doesn't ruin the Travion Henderson experience. I know it's not his fault. I'm obviously kidding, but I'm just not sure what his role is going to be. We know that Mike Vrabel loves him. We know that he favored him over Travion Henderson, despite him not being very good in the first place. So if you need a desperation play, Ramondre Stevenson is fine. Okay, rounding out the top 36, the low end RB3s. It's just going to be Bam Knight, Devin Singletary, and Tyler Algier, all non-sexy names. The only guy I think that you may want to start more than the others is probably Bam Knight. I don't even know if you guys know who Bam Knight is, but if he's on your waivers and you really need in RB2 this week or struggling in the running back category, Bam Knight is the best bet out of these three and maybe should have been put in the tier above. But he just hasn't shown enough as a player for me to trust him that much. Yeah, you don't want to start most of these guys here, but you know, like I talked about with Bam Knight, Amari DiMercado, which was the receiving back for the Cardinals in the split backfield with Bam Knight. He's going to be out this week. Bam Knight's going to be probably the sole lead back with Michael Carter mixing in on passing downs. It's not a bad option. It could be worse. It's not a terrible game environment either. Devin Singletary found the end zone twice last week, but he just doesn't do anything out of the receiving game. Jackson Dart's back, so that's like I said, more opportunities to find the end zone, but just not reliable enough to be putting him in your lineup, near the RB2 or any higher than this range. Tyler Algier has the only reason he's here is because he's just been sniping Bijan around the goal line. He's just a pure desperation play. He doesn't get much except for when Bijan gets him to the 1 yard line and they just feel like they're going to get the ball to Tyler Algier. But yeah, you don't really want any of these guys in your lineup, but if absolutely necessary, these are the guys I have ranked here as low end RB3s. And that is going to be it for the week 12 top 36 running backs. I really hope I helped you guys out this week, gave you guys some good info, some good insight, and help you make the best decisions for your lineup. And hopefully you guys come away with a win in week 12. And I will see you guys in week 13.